If you're a Giants fan who thought this season couldn't get any more depressing after the 2-9 record and the injury to Odell Beckham Jr., Coach Ben Mikado and General Manager Jerry Reese sure managed to surprise you on Tuesday afternoon. After 14 years and 222 total starts under center for the Giants, Eli Manning was publicly benched in about as unceremonious of a fashion as anyone could have imagined. The decision was almost universally derided for a number of reasons. Eli is a franchise icon. He was dumped via news release by an unpopular front office, who is benching him for Jets cast-off Geno Smith. I would say the Giants might as well have called the news into WFAN themselves, but I suspect sports talk radio would have thought Jerry in East Rutherford was making a prank call. Let's try to take a step backward, remove at least some of the emotion from the decision, and analyze it on its merits. There's some logic underlying the Giants' choice, although it's tortured and surrounded by a breathtaking amount of naivete and/or stupidity. And then, let's start thinking about what's next for the two-time Super Bowl champion whom the Giants just made the most expensive clipboard holder in football. The Giants are benching Manning, by their own words, to evaluate the other quarterbacks they have on their roster. They expect to play both Smith and Webb by the end of the season. It's totally reasonable to want a look at the other quarterbacks on their roster given the fact that they're 2-9 and likely about to enter a rebuild with a starting quarterback who will turn 37 in January. The Giants really want to evaluate Webb, who hasn't attempted an NFL pass. The time frame doesn't make much sense, given that Webb was a big-armed project coming out of the draft with serious accuracy and decision-making issues who was expected to possibly take over for Manning 2 or 3 years after being selected. It's difficult to believe he's going to show enough as a rookie to keep the Giants from adding a quarterback this off-season. It also wouldn't be fair, given Webb's expected timeline, to disqualify him after a few games behind a terrible offensive line with a bunch of backup wide receivers. But here we are. The most reasonable explanation for going to Smith and not Webb right now is practice time. The Giants probably want to get Webb meaningful reps with the first-team offense before turning him to the Wolves on Sunday. Nathan Peterman's disastrous debut with the Bills is the worst-case scenario of what can happen when an inexperienced quarterback is thrown onto the field without real practice time. It seems likely that the two quarterbacks will split time with the first team in practice before Webb takes over as the starter as soon as Week 14. The Giants probably figure that it's better for Webb to make his debut at home against the Cowboys, but I am not so sure they'll be doing Webb any favors there given the fan sentiment toward this decision. Manning reacted to this plan as phony, and it's difficult to disagree. It reeks of stat padding and would have painted Eli as a player more concerned with his own legacy than with the Giants' organizational plan. I also can't think of a team in recent history that rotated their quarterbacks on a half-by-half basis, let alone did so by choice.